Are we letting this run or? You're on mute, John.
Still on mute. He has 2 weeks off, and this is what happens. John, you're on mute.
Right, listeners. Right, this will be recorded.
Hey!
Right, we'll leave this on Comedy Effect. This will be recorded for the audio podcast because it's coming in through my mixer and not on here. So, listeners, welcome to the Seasiders podcast. We're back on YouTube. Someone's got a crying face there because an unlike on Facebook, I think. Because so listeners on the stream, welcome to the stream. What we're doing today? We're reviewing the promotion season very briefly, previewing the fixtures, transfer news, ins and outs, and all the news. Right, you're right, Matt. That was a bit of a cock up. Welcome back, Matt. And good that you're 5 minutes early, 10 minutes early. Just made it.
Yeah, I had to hot foot it from Ansdell, so I managed to persuade my lad to jump out of the taekwondo class earlier. Otherwise, I'd still show him who's boss, even though he's got a black belt.
Did he do it Peter Sellers style, jumping through the window?
It's like Cato in our house. Yeah, okay. Fucking is. Yeah, he'll be on top of the wardrobe next, jumping on me in the bedroom or something. Yeah.
Guys, I can just see in our private chat you are on mute. Unmute yourself, John, with multiple exclamation marks. So we're all a bit rusty, aren't we? It's 24th of June. It's nearly 20 odd days, Tim, since the last pod. It seems like a lifetime ago. You've got a little change going on of yourself in the background.
Yeah, last time I was virtually in the dark last time, wasn't I? In the in that room where I was having to try and get some internet connection, and I'm now in the partially finished new crypt. So it's the old crypt has gone. It's hitting it's gone up to the during the rest of it's dead as a dodo. And we've got a new build going on, so I've parked myself in here. It's not decorated yet, but we're getting there.
There is a lot of reverb actually, Tim. So I'm hoping there's going to be lots of deadening furniture in the room to stop the audio bouncing around. Being the audio snob that I am.
Okay, I'll bear that in mind. I'll have a word with them tomorrow.
Sound treatment panels, please. Roof and sides of doors. Sides of wall.
I'll bear that in mind.
Speaking of audio quality, we've got Sean on sporting his new microphone, kindly purchased with the Seasiders podcast patron funds. So it all goes to make this show better. Welcome, Sean. Let's say your dulcet tones through a decent mic.
Oh, yeah. The second time that I went round to collect it, yes, John, because you actually remembered to put it in that time. That was good of you.
So I think you should regale the listeners with what happened there, actually, Sean.
I was going to say, I'd only just been around in Blackpool. I'd obviously normally live in Preston. And I go down to John's, trek down to John's to pick up my equipment. And then he's there. It's all there in the bag. I get back. It's about 20 minutes till the podcast starts. I'm like, John, everything's in here, bar the actual mic. So then I had to fly back around and get again. Because I'm so committed to the podcast. So committed.
I gave the box. It was fully boxed up, wasn't it, Sean? Box was there, all nicely presented. And I'd taken the mic out to test it and forgot to put it back in the box. So
superb.
There's a pattern developing here, isn't there? We noticed.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm losing my marbles.
It's like when some people end up on furlough, their head goes to mush a bit, or maternity, whatever it is. I think John, 3 weeks without a podcast, and he's like, he's back to square one.
Not even leveling the screen. Right, there we go. Nice in the middle. So, Matt, I'm afraid you're going to have to do Mitch again today. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing?
I was thinking Tim can have my wallpaper for the crypt, can't he? It's kind of, this is sort of, it's quite crypt-like as it is, isn't it? But
is it like a wood or like a wood pile in the background?
Skulls. It's skulls, Tim.
Skulls.
It's skulls. I couldn't see that.
Yeah, it's
so homage to Colin Methven.
Yeah, well, I kind of merge into the background.
That's what about. Yeah, I was going to say yourself, Matt. Yeah, is it self-portrait?
Yeah, me, Colin Methven, and Colin Green all sat on the couch together. You wouldn't be able to pick us from the wallpaper, would you?
Yes, get some, Tim, for the new crypt. I think Mitch can hook you up.
I'll bear that in mind. Another one. 2 tips tonight.
John,
it's got a bit of felt on it. It's probably quite sound absorbing.
Oh, is it?
It's going to do the 2-in-1.
It's a tactile crypt wallpaper, Tim. Is that tactile? Is that worthy of a...
It's there, isn't it?
Simon Sadler has out-Timismed you anyway. I'll be later on the news. Sean, John Tight, welcome, John. Sean's Dutch top, similar to the new home kit. Sean.
There you are. Style fashionista, as always.
There we go. Let's make him big. I told him to get changed. It was on the wall. That
did.
In the green room.
It's also the Blackpool top from 1988, isn't it? It's very similar to that as well.
Yeah. So Sean's been doing some live camming 10 minutes before, earning himself a bit of money. These accredited sports journalists don't earn that much money these days.
Yeah, do anything.
Pimp themselves out to earn a crust.
It's freelance life.
It's what they found under Tim's conservatory.
Yeah, you can tell Bison's used to watch Brookside, can't you?
Yeah. Yeah, it's only for those of
us. That was a patio,
vintage.
actually. That was a patio, that was, I think.
Right, let's get on with the show then. We are going to review the 2021 season. Now, I did say to the fellas, let's review the season, but it kind of got a bit shit canned, didn't it, Mitch? So we're just going to give a very brief overview of the season just gone, given the fact that you did a blog about it, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. So if you want an extended review of the season, then there's a beautifully written one available there, or a crap written there.
Press the red button, listeners.
Yeah. So do you want me to lead on this bit?
Yeah. Away you go.
Okay,
mate.
right. I'll go with it. So I think starting with pre-season, I think we didn't really know what we were going to get out of Critchley, did we? We'd had 2 games, and then sort of pre-season came, and there was a lot of optimism, and obviously the Liverpool and Everton games stood out. I suppose the question is to everybody, what did we honestly expect from the season after we'd seen those, that what looked like was going to be a wonderful start?
Let's come to you first, Tim, on that, because we watched a couple of games in your bond layer kitchen, didn't we? And we were all salivating after those Liverpool and Everton games.
I think I thought we were going to finish 3rd, if I remember rightly. Is
that what you put on your predictions?
Yes, I think.
Matt, I hope you've got those predictions to hand. Anyway, we'll come to that.
No, I haven't, but I will do.
All right, get them to hand then.
So, I recall predicting 3rd, which actually, to be fair, on the basis of what I saw pre-season, I thought we might actually go up automatic, but I was just being conservative with my estimation. I think, we did look good, didn't we? We looked, the system looked like it could hold a lot of promise. It looked like it was going to be exciting. It looks like we're going to be playing a very attractive style of football. And, whilst it wasn't by far away, it wasn't the finished product, it looked like it had, the approach was the right one, and it was most certainly the antithesis to watching the Grayson team, wasn't it? We'll have to have a count tonight. Well, I'll go for a few tonight. I think I've got Simon Sadler's trying to outdo me, so I'm going to have to up my game a bit, I think.
I think it makes it funnier if no one mentions anything when you just hear the sound effect. Sorry, Tim, go on.
So I was just saying, I think, the pre-season very much, there was a positive outlook, wasn't there? There was a view that we were playing a different style of football. It was going to be more interesting to watch, that it was, maybe not quite harking back to the Holloway of playing, but it was the idea of bringing in young players in, developing them, playing an attacking style of football. And it was, I think most Blackpool fans felt we were going to have a good season, and quite a few thought we could get promoted. And most certainly, I think we all looked at, whether we're good at promoting or not, we all thought we're going to see some attractive football. So that was most certainly my assessment pre-season, particularly from that first half against Liverpool. And then the way we played against Everton, and even the way we played against Stoke when we went out of the cup, to be honest, I thought it was all very, very positive approach, which is what we were looking for.
Bill's just dropped a comment in on Facebook. Overview of the season was underprepared, started shit, then came good, then a bit shit, then good, promotion, end of show. Right, Phil, you can piss off then. Away you go.
That is quite similar to my notes, to be fair.
Craig nailed what he says. That start encouraged me to bet heavily, and I won over £2,000. Being a problem gambler yourself, Tim, hats off to Craig there.
Yeah, well, I put 50 quid and I was going up as champions, but that was only because my business partner had done it, and I thought I can't have her winning about £4,000 and me not, so I put 50 quid on as well, and I quickly realised that was overly ambitious.
Well, I very clairvoyantly had us down to finish 13th, so shows what I know, doesn't it?
You got 3 in it. The 3 was right.
Yeah. Do you want me to rattle on now? Pre-season, we're all very optimistic. And then we were, as Phil eloquently puts it, shit for a couple of months. And I reckon the worst we played was Gillingham away. I thought it was the low point. And I suppose my question for this bit was, what do you think was the lowest ebb of the season? Because we looked everything that we weren't in pre-season. I think I agree with Tim. It looked like the and maybe we were unlucky for a few games at the beginning of the year, but there were quite a few games there where we were starting to look clueless, we looked flimsy, we looked underprepared. And I thought the nadir, that's a Timism, isn't it? The nadir of the season was Gillingham away, where they just played us off the pitch. They looked totally streetwise, and we just looked clueless. So I don't know, what was the low point for us?
Over to you, Matt.
I think Matt Scrafton asked the same question in the Gazette not so long back, didn't he, about amongst other questions, and I put Gillingham away as well, Mitch. So it was definitely men against boys, and it was the fact that Steve Evans absolutely just did one over Critchley, didn't he, in that particular game. So it was a disappointing game. We just were spineless. I remember that one sticking out. Another point was the Charlton game at home, when everything seemed to go wrong. Mark's just put the husband got sent off, but was that the one where he got sent off in the first couple of minutes? I'm trying to think now whether it was that or...
Yeah, I think
so. It was, wasn't
it?
Because Lincoln was the one at the end of the game, wasn't it? And then, so that period was just horrific though, wasn't it? But that Gillingham game in particular was the one where, we just seemed to sort of almost throw the towel in, really. We were just like bullied all over the park, and couple of crap mistakes from what I remember of the guys at the back, and it just sort of typified that sort of first sort of 3 months, three or four sort of bad months anyway of the season, and that was that Gillingham game was one that really sort of sticks in the craw of it, really, doesn't it? Horrible.
Sean, what are your thoughts on the kind of the lowest ebb?
Well, obviously, when we got absolutely trounced by Ipswich at home, they were really clinical that day, and I thought we actually played okay in that game for quite a few parts of the game, particularly in the first half, but we just got completely ripped apart when it mattered. And for me, the lowest ebb was the Wimbledon away game, because again, we actually played quite well there over the piece in terms of, trying to build things up, but there was just no quality at all in the final third. And you were thinking, after all the bad performances we had, is that all we have? Is that all we're going to have all season? Because we were 10 games into the season then at that point, and you just hadn't seen a moment of real quality that you needed to see for us to be able to progress over the full season. But for me, that was the moment where I was like, we might have to change things here, because it's just not falling at all for us. And even when it was, there was just no quality in the final third. There was a lack of cutting edge. I felt like every 5 minutes, everyone would say lack of cutting edge. And that was the real talking point of the start part of the season. But then obviously we ended up going through. But that was definitely the lowest ebb for me, the Wimbledon game. That was where I think I probably questioned whether it was worth our time continuing with Critchley at that point.
Was that the we're just stuck with him moment?
I think so, potentially, because that's where I basically put, is it worth us continuing down the line with this project when we're not actually seeing any progression. And then obviously that's quickly turned around.
I think the point we turned around, I think there's probably 2 points where the season turned. And I think the first one was the Burton away game where we went to 4-4-2, because that was the first game for me where I felt like, even though it wasn't a particularly good performance, and it certainly wasn't a performance against a good team, it was the first time I actually enjoyed watching us for ages, where it looked like we were trying to win the game, trying to win the game. And that was also the point, if I remember correctly, that was also the point when we went to 4-4-2. And it was also the debut of Kenny Dougal. Was it not?
Was it when... So it was a combination of things, wasn't it? It was Dougal, Medine and 4-4-2.
And it was Jerry Yates' first goal.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was,
yeah. In fact, he got the double, didn't he?
You've nailed it here, Mitch. Turning point.
Absolutely, that's it. So that's the end.
We need a sound effect. Turning point.
And then I think I'm right in saying the first big win was Pompey at home, wasn't it? That was the first game where we sort of looked decent.
The coach is here.
We were highly entertained by sideways passing back to Ollie Turton and round again and there. I think the first time I felt really optimistic after the beginning of the season was the Portsmouth game, where we were genuinely good. We don't want to go on too long with this, so I'll rattle on. We were crap at Christmas, if you remember rightly.
Let's just rewind just back to your notes very quickly, Mitch. The Peterborough Away game, that was a big marker in the sand for me for the rest of the season, a marker to the rest of the teams rather. So you've noted that down, and it was a big moment for me. That was a last minute winner as well, wasn't it?
It was Gaz Medine's slow motion turn in the box and
that's right.
roller into the corner.
Yeah.
We had a purple patch, didn't we, in late October and November time? I think that was Peterborough and Portsmouth and
Hull as well, like Josh has said there. Yeah, the last minute winner. That was a really big moment as well, because it was we'd performed really well in that. It was sort of all of the big teams came at once, and we sort of one by one adapted how we were playing against them. We kind of that's where we saw how Critchley adapts to the opposition really well. And in each individual game, we showed something different, and we ended up getting the better of the teams. And that was where, again, obviously, that was only a month down the line from us thinking the Burton game was a relegation fight. And then we'd gone and basically picked up all these points against the top sides. And then really from there, we thought we could take on anyone in the division.
I think, to be fair,
Christmas happened.
I think, to be honest, John, we were all really worried about that November, late October, November period. Because if you looked at the fixtures, you could not see where we're going to get a win, and we actually came out of it winning or drawing virtually every one of them. So it was an incredible turnaround.
Yeah. And
I think
Christmas happened.
They did. I was just going to make one more point. I think Sean's got a really good point about the switching tactics, because I think the Portsmouth game was the first time where Critchley kind of proved us wrong, because he went back to 4-3-3 for it, didn't he? And everyone was like, "What's he doing? Yeah. Why has he been this off?" And we were absolutely brilliant that game. And I think it was the first time where I had to go, yeah, I was wrong there, because I thought it was wrong. But yeah, Christmas was awful. I remember the Shrewsbury game away, and it was snowing, wasn't it? And we were just dreadful. I don't think we made a chance. We were terrible. And then we had Bristol Rovers, who obviously end up finished bottom. We had them away, and we were pretty dire there. And
what was the final score? Was that? Did we get heavily beaten there?
No, it was 2-1.
2-0.
2-1.
No, it was 2-1. It was one of them games that could have been about 6-5, but
that's right. We never win there, do we?
No.
The worst thing was about that Bristol Rovers game is that they looked properly shit, and we did all right for about 20 minutes, and then we just capitulated, didn't we? It was horrendous. Sorry.
I thought the Shrewsbury game was one of the lowest ebbs of the season. We were just hopeless. We just kept can't remember who was playing, but it just seemed like Keshi and Sully just kept running into people and falling over, and that was like the entire idea we had. We were absolutely dire, and it felt like, well, maybe actually, maybe November was a blip, and then on top of that came the injury crisis, because it was in January where players kept falling like flies. So it sort of feels like, we picked it up a bit in January. We played West Brom and had a few good results. But like Medine played brilliantly against Wigan, and then he gets injured. And it just seemed like every time everyone played well, they got injured. But the strange thing was, I don't know if you agree with me, the more players got injured, the better we seemed to get.
Yeah, I think it was that point as well where you realised that it was more about the system than it was about the personnel. For a long time, obviously we were thinking we were going to be over reliant on specific players. I think with that winning run, it was Gretason and Ekpiteta, and we thought, right, this is our partnership. Fleetwood Away was a good example of just how solid they were as well at that point. They were still under Barton at that point and hoping to get a top half finish, and it was around that time then the Ekpiteta injury, the Gretason injury came, and then Ballard came in, and that's where we had a bit of a wobbly spell at Christmas. But then from then on, everyone that came in knew their specific role that they were having to do in the team, and it was really interchangeable. And that's where, again, you start to realise what was being built in the background behind the scenes, that it was a lot bigger than what we initially thought it was, and that the whole time that Critchley was there, he was slowly building this system that was going to work, and obviously it has done in the end. And it was, as I say, I think the system was more important than any personnel we've had this season, personally.
What's interesting is when you say the system, actually the system's been quite a few different systems, hasn't it? But
yeah,
it's still worked in a way. It's quite odd, isn't it? Then I haven't really got that much more from this, because I think, after Christmas, we kind of, the record speaks for itself. But I've picked Burton again as a turning point, Burton at home, because I think the one question we had was, could we beat crap teams? We could beat good teams, we knew that. But could we beat crap teams? And although we didn't beat Burton, I thought that was a real turning point, in the sense that we had one of our sort of typically sticky performances against a sort of a more limited side in the first half. We were really, really poor. And then he shifted it in the second half, and we came out absolutely all guns blazing. I think it was, I think he brought Embleton on, and it was one of Kaikai's best games. And I think that was a moment where he realised that he could take the handbrake off, or maybe it clicked in the players' heads that they needed to take the handbrake off, or whatever. And even though we only drew that game, we absolutely murdered them for 45 minutes. So, yeah, and I suppose that brings me to kind of the last bit of it, which was what, in that last period where we were genuinely really good, what was our best performance? I'll tell you what I've got. I've got the Oxford away game down. I think that was the most entertained I've been by a Blackpool side for years. I thought they were superb.
Do you know, also I think Sunderland away, just showing the resilience to go there. And obviously we had Kaikai scoring probably the goal of the season, or at least most certainly one of the contenders. And after we beat them at home, I was quite worried about going away, despite my folks' sort of confidence because of my little banter with Matt. I was actually quite worried.
You off, Matt, wasn't he? Slagging you off.
I said 78 points, and I was the highest point totaler, if that's the right word, amongst us, and I was still too short.
But Sunderland, for me, I just felt that we really sort of put our marker down there, that we could go anywhere and do anything.
I think as far as entertainment goes, sorry, John, I thought entertainment goes, I think Oxford, I think that was a brilliant game. It was a team, much like we've done previously in a couple of games, and we mentioned Burton earlier. They were the form team of the division at that time, weren't they, as well, when we played them, as were Oxford when we played them. And it just showed that at that point of the season, we were obviously within the squad. They had so much confidence and sort of faith in their own ability, whatever system, team, whatever you want to call it, that was out there. But that particular game, everything just seemed to be spot on, didn't it? And there were one or two other highlights as well. I think, was Gillingham the highest goals that were scored? 4? I don't think we scored any more than 2 or 3.
I mean, we forget about that, don't we? Because
they were even flying. 2.
Gillingham were flying at the time, weren't they? As were Burton,
another team in form. Yeah.
Burton had been beaten for God knows how many games.
Hasselbank came in, didn't he? And then they went on a big winning run as soon as he came back in. And with Gillingham as well.
Run. Yeah.
With that Gillingham game, I was quite nervous pre-match, and quite a few people, because it was a completely unique system that we were coming up against. The way they played, we hadn't really been able to beat a side like that. And for us to come up against them and completely wipe the floor with them. We were just more intense than them in the press, and they didn't get anything to Verdane Oliver. Verdane Oliver was so quiet that game, and he was a real threat in the league at that point in time. I think I'm the same as Tim. I think Sunderland away, but it's because of game management. We just managed the game so well. There was spells where you could see Sunderland was starting to come back into it, and we just got the ball down in the midfield and started passing it about. Grant Ward was absolutely amazing with his ball retention in that game. And I think as well, obviously, Chris Maxwell probably put in the best performance from a goalkeeper that I've seen in a long time. Towards the back end of the game, we were flat on our arse, really, and Maxwell made 3 or 4 top draw saves to keep us in it. And that's when you kind of thought, it's coming for us here. You didn't really think that a team was going to be able to do us over then, especially when we practically beaten every single team that was in the playoff places at that point. After that was that next hurdle we needed to go. We kept up in the levels whenever we needed to.
And just before we got to the kind of the business end of the season, I don't know who wants to come in on this. We had a stutter, didn't we, against, was it Rochdale at home? And who's the other team we failed to beat?
Shrewsbury, wasn't it?
Yeah. And that was anyone worried at that point?
I thought we'd blown the chance of playoffs at that stage, to be honest, because I mean, we went there when we then go on an incredible run, don't we? But you don't know you're going to do that, and you look at the teams you've got to play in the running, and you see actually, it's almost like a flip, because you've seen you've got a load of crap teams to play, which we had, and you're thinking, well, they're the games we aren't going to win. We want, other than the Sunderland, we actually had quite an easy run in, but. I genuinely was worried. I thought we'd actually, after all the good work, I thought we'd blown it, but obviously happy to be proved wrong.
It's just a bizarre season, wasn't it? Just generally the fact that we're beating all the top teams and just struggling against the crap. So bizarre.
And I think the thing that there was some good shouts in the games there. I'd actually overlooked the Gillingham game. We were superb, but we were capable. We had games where we won by boring teams to death. We had games where we outfought teams, games where we outfootballed teams. And we seemed to, I think that's what was really strange about it. The strangest thing for me about it is, like I said before, when Sean says the system was the thing, and it was, but we were so flexible. And yet we started out the season thinking that we were far too rigid and far too inflexible. And actually we've ended the season with exactly the opposite being true, which is it's strange.
Yeah.
When you look at it as a graph, it's not actually been that much of a roller coaster. It's been fairly steadily improving, but it feels like a lot's happened.
I was going to mention the MK Dons away game as well. That was another one where we just seemed to manage it well, even though we probably had 35% of the possession or something, but we just never really looked like we were going to concede against them. And we got the breakaway goal, and that was another great result. But you were watching it, and it was like, it was a bit like England the other night, wasn't it?
I was just about to say that. I was just about to say that.
No, we are not entertained, Critchley, but you've got us 3 points. So
that was exactly the game I was thinking of when I said we've won games by boring teams to death. That was the one that came to mind.
That's it.
I think just in summary of the season, then we've just been completely adaptable. I think that's the adjective to use to describe the season. And hats off to Critchley anyway. I mean, it has been a roller coaster. But Tim, you're going to say something?
Yeah, I think. To be honest, I was actually going to say roller coaster. I know it's a bit of a cliche.
I know you don't want to use it, do you? But it was.
But it was because there was no pattern to it, really, was there? We were either crap, brilliant. There was like no in between, and to go from where we were at Wimbledon and where I think we were second bottom and lost 6 out of the first 9, to then basically be the best team for the rest of the season, whether you looked at 10 games, 15 games, 20 games, whatever it was period looking over, we basically averaged 2 points a game and more for the rest of the season, and that's quite frankly incredible. So. It was. I still say the only thing I'm really, really upset about is that we weren't there to watch that, because I think it's probably one of the most entertaining seasons you're ever going to get, to go from the lows of Wimbledon to the highs of what we saw in the latter half of the season. And it would have been incredible to be there and be part of the atmosphere. And But another way, we saw more, didn't we? We saw more because we literally watched every single game where ordinarily you wouldn't do, and it's a season we won't forget. Let's put it that way, isn't it?
But what a way to be at the games for the last two games. That they were just mind blowing, weren't they? The Oxford game at the Armfield, the Oxford at home game that we went to, and culminating in that final at Wembley. It was just a great way to close the curtain on the season, and what a way to go up.
Yeah, I think given the circumstance, I suppose we've got to look at it that those of us who were fortunate to go to 2 games, or maybe even 3 if you were at the Swindon game at the start of the season, you've got to count themselves extremely, extremely lucky. And, like you say, the promotion was just the cherry on the cake as far as that was concerned. But it was a weird season because I don't want to see another game, quite frankly, on iFollow as long as I live. I just hope that when it comes to the 7th of August and we're away at Bristol City, we are actually physically away at Bristol City. God willing is hopefully all I'll say, or vaccine willing anyway.
2 jabs willing. So, right, that's the season reviewed. Nicely segueing there, Matt, onto the fixture season. So let's move on to the season fixtures for the Championship 2021. Those little interlude sound effects that we've got from back in the day, Tim. If you remember when we used to do it in the office. But those are the fixtures on those are the fixtures on screen. Listeners, for the benefit of the audio pod, we're not going to read them all out because it'll be quite a tedious affair, I think. But Bristol City away, gentlemen, first game of the new campaign. And guess who is on a holiday in Bath and the Cotswold area at that exact time? Very Tim-style holiday, Tim.
I want to see a picture of you sat with your feet in the pool and
feet in the Roman baths, getting arrested.
Well, yes. Regular listeners of
Alan Partridge impression, please.
Yes, we'll know about the altercation I had down at Bristol City 15 years ago when I was entertained by Her Majesty's Constabulary in a cell under Ashton Gate. So, yeah, 15 odd years ago since I last visited there. But
I think she's recreated, John.
Yeah. My sister said, I wonder if they've got a picture of myself on the turnstile at Ashton Gate, the away turnstile, saying,
Do you know the last year?
This man in.
Do you know last year I went to Bristol City, 1985. 1985. Eamon O'Keefe scored 2 goals and we won 2-1.
That rotten away end with no backs on the seats.
It's one ground I've never been to. It always seemed to have fallen on a weekend when I was away, or a bloody Tuesday night or something. So that's why I'm really eager that I get the opportunity to go, really.
So who's going? Are we all going?
Yep, I'm going for that one. It's changed quite a bit, Ashton Gate, hasn't it? There's been a lot of redevelopments, hasn't there? I think it's quite an impressive ground now, from what I can see. What I've seen of it.
Was there a non-league final there?
National League final was there. Yeah,
I was trying to reconcile in my head. I was like, "What ground's this?" I thought it was Old Trafford to start with. Then after I was like, "Wow, Ashton Gate." Yeah, so it looks good. Like I say, the last time I went there was no backs on the seats, and I kicked one with a considerable amount of force. Got lifted, and so I'm looking forward to going there. But August. We've got Bristol City away, Cardiff at home, Bournemouth away, fucking Millwall away on Saturday the 28th. So who's going? Matt, you love a London away day, don't you?
I do, yeah. I don't know whether I'll be going to Millwall. I've done Millwall a couple of times now, and it's not one where you get a cuddle, is it, at Millwall necessarily? So I don't know whether I can be, if the sights and sounds of Millwall aren't sort of appealing as much as Bournemouth, let's say. I'm getting a bit old for all that, perhaps.
Bournemouth is one of the very few grounds I've never been to. So I may pencil it in. Has anyone been to Bournemouth?
I went to Dorchester.
I did Bournemouth. When we beat them and Ince got sent off.
I went to that, yeah.
I'm a bit gutted, actually, because I'm on holiday that week and I'm actually coming back from near Oxford on that day, and it's whether I can swing it with Mrs. Tam that she goes home on her own and I go the other direction.
I like your style, Tim. Love it.
Oh, brilliant.
Bournemouth away.
To go to Bournemouth in August is a great. It's a great
yeah.
weekend to pencil in that.
Mitch, are you going to go to Bournemouth away? Anything?
No, I'm not afraid. No, I'm more north of England, me. But no. But if you look at it overall, it's quite a good start because there's some decent teams, but there's nobody so good, and there's some way it's quite a good way into the championship.
Bournemouth have got Scott Parker now, haven't they? They've took him from Fulham, or they were doing.
Have they really?
Yeah. That's a guaranteed 3 points then.
I think Fulham seems to be in a fair bit of trouble at the moment. I don't know, they had problems with their owners and they just seem a bit off a bit at the moment, Fulham. So yeah, he's going to Bournemouth.
Yeah, I was going to say, Sean, that looks the hardest game for me.
Yeah, I really like
that. I changed my mind.
No, he plays a good style of football, Scott Parker, to be fair to him. I think they've got some good players there, Bournemouth. I liked them under Woodgate, to be fair. I think they just didn't have enough at the end to get through into the playoff final and obviously into the Premier League, but they look really good. I saw them away at Burnley in the FA Cup and they absolutely wiped the floor with him, so they've definitely got some good players there. It's just obviously whether they can keep hold of them.
Yeah. So let's move on to September. We've got Fulham at home, Huddersfield at home, Borough away, Barnsley at home, and Hull away. Again, not, all winnable games, aren't they?
Yeah, there's not a lot of travel there generally, is there? I don't think, really. Not massively.
Away days, anything of note there? Well, we've got Saturday the 18th of September, Borough away. My birthday, so...
You're going to... Should we cycle it again, John?
Yes. Yeah, last time we went. Last time that was Borough away. Last time I went, was it with you?
Yeah, that's what it was. I think.
The uninitiated.
You could do. I could be. It should be middle class now. We could do an overnighter in the north part of the Dales and nip to Borough and have a walk in the morning on Sunday.
Yeah, for my birthday celebration, Tim.
What's the pub they all stop off up there? The town. There's like a village in Yarn.
That's the one. Yeah.
There used to be a nightclub called Tall Trees in Yarn that you used to go to. Used to have it back in the day, younger days. Mitch, anything on there that out to you?
I think Middlesbrough is a decent one. I've got relatives in Middlesbrough, so I can have a free overnighter there.
Right, that's it. We're all going to have a big away day.
Yeah, we'll all come round, yeah.
Right.
All come round.
Podcast, my birthday meetup. Yeah. My birthday meetup, yeah.
I've had some enjoyable times in Toby Carvery's in Middlesbrough, so we can all crack on with that. Yeah, I think that's the one. It was one of the games. Well. Say what?
We could go on the transporter bridge as well.
Absolutely. That's my kind of weekend, that. Yeah, no, that was one that jumped out at me as a really good away day. I always like the North East games. I think they're good.
Did they know of... I'm trying to think of his name now. I think it was called Freddie Bang Bang in Middlesbrough. Does anybody recognise that one? I don't know if anybody on the chat does. He's a renowned, how can I put it, head case in Middlesbrough. And I met him when I think he was he called Freddie Bam Bam? As in Bam Bam. I met him at the England were playing when they did Wembley. England were playing up there. I don't know who they played. Slovakia rings a bell, strangely enough. And I met him, and he's about, I think he was about 60 or something now, and a nice little gentle fellow. And he had all these stories about him. But I'll have to. I bet I can bloody Google him. You'd be surprised.
He sounds like Ronnie Pickering.
Yeah.
Or Mitch Johnston.
Mitch Johnston, absolutely.
For some reason, I put Matt's name as Mitch Johnston. And he said it sounds like an Aussie Rules player. Right, anyway, October. Rovers at home, Forest away, Reading away. And Saturday, the 23rd of October, Preston North End at Bloomfield Road, or by Sheffield United away. So that's October, eh? Nobbers on the 23rd. Get that in your diary, listeners. That's going to be a tasty month, isn't it?
It's a
I was
great month.
I was actually contacted by, because I've got a bit of sponsorship at Blackpool, about which game I wanted the box for next season. And you've got to put 4 choices down. I didn't know what to do about the Nobbers, because in some respects you just want to be on the north for that one, don't you? You don't want to be sat in the prawn sandwich brigade. But then you think, well, it's the biggest game of probably the biggest home game of the season, so it would be good for business. But
what have you
it's
picked?
not what it's about, though, isn't it? I've had to write 4 down, so I've written Preston, Blackburn, Bournemouth, and what's the other one I've gone for? Fulham at home, actually, because it was one of the first home games of the season. I thought that might be quite good.
I really enjoyed that day in that box, Tim. I'd love it if you invited me again to this season's one.
I tell you that as a rather ladled risen hint.
That was pathetic, wasn't it?
It was almost grovelling, wasn't it?
Get down on your knees live on a podcast.
Hey, Tim, you're looking really good for your age recently. You know, you're looking really good. Have you lost weight? Hair's good, looking good. Anyway, to the room.
Shameless.
To the room, October away, Mitch. It looks like a great month, doesn't it?
It does look like a superb month, because it's also, they're not coming too thick and fast either. So there's some really good games, and you can sort of savour them one by one, if that makes sense. And I think what I'm really looking forward to most of all is taking my lad to the Preston game, because in his head, sort of Fleetwood is the biggest thing that can happen. You know, Fleetwood come in, and that's
quite a sad state of affairs.
Well, isn't it? But he's only 10, and he's only been going for 2 years. So we would. Do you remember when Fleetwood kicked the window out of the bus on that horrible game where the police horse died and all that? And we were right behind the bus when the window got kicked out, and it was like the most exciting thing he'd ever seen happen in his entire life. He probably is still. And I've been saying to him, you know, like, that's only Fleetwood, but he can't really conceptualize that there's another level of needle that makes that just look like nothing. So I'm looking forward to taking him there and him being sort of excited and slightly scared at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah, you actually asked me about away games, didn't you? And I've forgotten where we are playing away.
We've got Forest away, the worst, followed by the worst away game of the season, Reading away.
It is midweek though, isn't it, Reading, I think. So that's good. Get that shuffled away as a non-existent event, I think.
Yeah, and Sean, obviously we've got the Nobbers, then we've got Sheffield United away, which is another great game, isn't it? Saturday, 30th of October.
Yeah, well, Sheffield's a great place, full stop, isn't it? It's a good weekend, that.
Yeah, I was going to say, trying to think what else there was. The thinking the home game with Preston, like, I mean, I think they're heading for relegation personally. So, I mean, it could be a really good day. If all goes to plan as we plan, it could be a really good day. But now I've predicted that on here in pre-season. Jarred it all up.
You know, you and your predictions, Sean.
Yeah, but they really just like the sense of actual going for it this season and ambition from the top down just seems pretty non-existent there, to be honest.
We need that Kevin Keegan sound effect. I'd love it if they went down. Love it.
It just seems very stale, doesn't it? There, it seems very stale. They don't seem to be bringing anybody.
I mean, they chased Ainsworth for 3 months, then didn't get him in. Appointed Frankie McAvoy, who's obviously been their caretaker manager. They've got a couple of really high earners like Scott Sinclair on the books, who haven't really done as much as they wanted them to, and the players that they're linked with, and they're sort of bringing in some younger players that are coming in, but who haven't really made the grade at other clubs at other loan spells and things like that. So
got a midfielder who craps on cars.
Yeah.
Controversially, I wouldn't want them relegated. I'd like them to finish 4th bottom.
Yeah.
Every single season, and then because I want to play them. I mean, it's all right.
But that doesn't matter though, because we'll be in the Premier League then. So
I was just about to say that, Tim. It's irrelevant, isn't it? We'll be in the Premier League next season. Yeah.
Unfortunately, as I mentioned on our group before, I'm away for the bloody Preston game, aren't I? So for fuck's sake.
Where are you, Matt? Where are you going to be?
I'm in Dorset, so it's not even commutable, is it? No chance.
I mean, Nick's on holiday as well, and I think he's on holiday in the lake, so you can
Yeah, the only hope is that they might move it to Friday night for telly, perhaps.
Maybe.
You never,
Yeah.
you know.
In
That's
the lakes, you can dive back. I remember being in the. I was up near. Where was I? Up near Scotch Corner, staying somewhere at Easter when Charlie Adams scored and we beat them, and we dived back for the game and went straight back up again. And so, if you're in the lakes, you do it, don't you, for Preston?
Yeah. Dorset, I'm lucky to get Wi-Fi, aren't I?
You don't get it in Kent.
Oh God!
Pray to the gods of Sky, Matt, for a
televised
rearrangement.
Yeah,
I would say Rupert Murdoch, but it's not him anymore, is it? Right, November, Stoke at home, QPR at home, Swansea away, West Brom at home, Birmingham away. So we've got a bit of a Midlands vibe to November.
I think that's
days.
a really tough month. I personally think that's a really tough month for me. I think QPR are going to be a really good side next year. They looked really good at the back end of the season. I think Stoke, again, always come onto a game. West Brom, obviously, going to be up there. And I think, obviously, Birmingham have got Lee Bowyer in. They've brought in a couple of decent players as well, and they seem to be kind of getting back on track because they've had quite an insecure time. So I think that's a really, really tough month, personally.
And Swansea, I mean, they had a great season last season.
Yeah,
as well,
they were thereabouts.
Is Cooper gone? I think Steve Cooper hasn't gone now, has he? He didn't go to Palace. So they've still got Steve Cooper in charge. They didn't seem to like Steve Cooper that much. They didn't seem to like the football he was playing. So hopefully that sort of staleness that they had carries on into next season.
Birmingham finally got rid of Nikola Zigic on 60 grand a week, whatever he was on. Is he still there? Is he still there counting his money?
Did Redknapp go in there once and like just splash a load of money and then fuck off about 3 months later? Spent about 10 million on Jota or something from Brentford. I remember that. Looking horrid.
Big Sam will probably rocking up there next. Right, December, Luton at home, Derby away. There was something about Derby, wasn't there? Their fixtures have been put in both divisions, haven't they?
Or Wickham, yeah, because they're obviously in still a bit of bother, aren't they, with the EFL with financial misdemeanors. So I don't know how soon. It sounds like it's imminent in terms of what they're trying to achieve. Maybe Sean knows more.
It seems to be the appeal process, basically, because they've been fined 100 grand by this independent panel, but then the EFL and Derby themselves have the right to appeal. So if the EFL appeal, the judgment could then, if another independent panel gets appointed, and if they find it a harsher punishment, they could get a retrospective points deduction. Personally, I think it's kind of going to be like this whole Sheffield United West Ham thing, where they sort of, it's too late now, it's happened, so they'll maybe give them a big hefty fine and then carry on. But I can't see them giving the retrospective punishment. Maybe might give them one this season, but they basically have to import 3 years worth of accounts now again to this new panel if it does go to appeal. But EFL haven't decided yet if they're going to appeal or not.
I think they're are they technically ownerless at the moment? Because I know there was a guy that was trying to buy them, and I was listening to Kieran Maguire's podcast, and he basically said that this guy just rocked up trying to buy Derby County, and he was just basically...
It was a sham, yeah. It's Eric Alonso.
Just a sham. Yeah,
I remember he was on Twitter and he put on a picture of like just taking loads of phone calls today for the business, and it was like this like fake stock photo of a rich house. That
it's like me stood in front of Tim's house saying, "Give me a mortgage for this."
Yeah.
Quality. So we've got a KDH-less Luton at home, first game. Then we've got Derby away, win that. Peterborough at home, we could win that. Huddersfield Town away, they're on a low ebb, could win that. And Borough at home, we could win that. Again, gents, December, after a harsh November, December's very winnable. And we've got a great away day at Huddersfield away on Boxing Day. So we should be travelling there in numbers.
5,000 stand, isn't it? So
yeah.
It's good.
Remember we had the game under Jose Riga where we got absolutely battered after about 15 minutes. Like, he took the Elner off after about 15 minutes. We were about 3-0 down, I think, in that game away from home once. I was going to say Luton are a very good side. I think personally they could be a shout for a playoff place potentially, the way that they're building under Nathan Jones. I think they've got a good side. Again, they're replacing these loanees. They seem to bring in good loanees every season. They've got they're very like data Brentford style orientated, a bit like us, and they seem to be they brought in Alan Campbell from Motherwell, who I was hoping would come to Blackpool. He's a very good player, so I think they're quite a dark horse this season.
And we can catch up with Ollie Turton on Boxing Day, can't we? Nice to see him. But I've got a mate who's a Huddersfield fan, and he's very sceptical about them. He just says they keep just buying average journeymen, sort of mid-table, lower league footballers, and calling them championship sides. So I'm hoping that for once, certainly recently, we've had really crap Boxing Days. I'm hoping for once they don't ruin Christmas. And it's a really good away day, that, for Boxing Day.
Yeah, it is.
It's just far enough, isn't it? But no,
Yeah.
it's an hour, isn't it? And and it's not going to be like 1,500 of us. It's going to be packed away end, and hopefully packed away end.
I was going to say,
You almost don't want something too intense on Boxing Day, do you? You don't want it to just be too intense, but you want it to be intense enough to be worth it.
Why not, Mitch? Why not?
I don't know, because it's Christmas, isn't it?
When I first saw the fixture list, I thought we had Preston on Boxing Day, and I thought,
oh my God,
that's actually a shit game for Boxing Day. It's too much.
Yeah.
It could ruin the rest of your Christmas.
I normally don't like Christmas. It's always Boxing Day's been the zenith. It's been the zenith of Christmas, the Boxing Day game, and that's a perfect game for me. I love that game.
We always used to get Barnsley around that time, and me and my mates used to love it like 13, 14 onwards, because they had really good games at Barnsley, Matt Phillips hat-trick as well, and we used to pack that out, and it got smaller and smaller every time we went, until there was about 200 of us, and Tom Ince tried to scrap someone in the away end on Paul Ince's last game, and we'd lost about 10 in a row. So it's like every great moment away from home has always happened then.
Yeah, let's pray to the gods that there's no limits on away fans. That's gonna be a great day. I can't wait for that. Right into 2022, we've got Hull at home, Barnsley away, Millwall away, and Fulham away. The most Tim friendly away game. Fulham away, Tim. Just up your street, that, isn't it?
Weekend in
Quaint
Putney.
Walk.
Yeah,
Quaint to walk around Putney by the river.
I might go.
With your jumper knotted around your shoulders, your yellow trousers
before the game,
yellow
trousers
chinos, yellow chinos,
red ones,
Ralph Lauren shirt.
I've got me sus, John.
But you know, like the knobbers go like there's the gents' day. They go with bowler hats or something. Maybe we should all go dressed in Tim clothes to Fulham away.
Actually, the Knobbers are doing Fulham away, aren't they? Is their Gentry Days?
Gentry Day, that's it. I think we should start our own. Call it the Timism Day. All go dressed as Tim Fielding. What do you say, Sean? We get your boys up for it.
Oh yeah, definitely straight in.
Just generally football-wise, then, what do we think of January, Sean?
I think, as we seem to go through initially when you see the fixture list, you're like, oh, bloody hell, all these names of teams that you think are good. And then as you actually delve deeper into these teams, they all seem to be having problems. Like I've obviously listed off about 4 teams now. Huddersfield have got the manager who basically plays a complete different style of football to the players they're buying. He's not buying the players, the director of football is. You've got Fulham who are losing their manager, don't seem to be investing as heavily in the team, seem to be losing their bigger players. It's like as you start to go through the list, you start to think your relegation places potentially are already made up before the season started, just because of how on their arse a few of these clubs are. So again, it's good, and I think that you'd like to think we've kind of sussed how we're going to play, how we're facing these sort of teams at that time, and that's when the back end of the season, and that's where we kind of came onto our momentum this season, and hopefully the same happens again.
Okay, let's move on to February. Bristol City at home. This is quite a fixture-heavy month. Coventry City away, Bournemouth at home, Cardiff away, QPR away, Reading at home. Mitch, I think this could be a season-defining month for me because we've got a lot of games that'll test the squad, and we've got quite tough teams in there as well. So this could be the acid test for how successful we're going to be. Yeah,
there's quite a lot of teams in there that sort of you look at it and go, their seasons could go either way as well. You know, when I look at teams like Coventry or Cardiff or QPR or Reading, you sort of wouldn't be surprised to see any of them 7th, but you also wouldn't be surprised to see any of them 19th or 20th, if that makes sense. Even Bristol, and I think it's a lot of teams in there that we're going to need to get something from some of that. We're going to need to get wins from some of those games. You know, the kind of teams where we need to be winning against some of those games. You know, the very top teams we might lose to, and the very bottom teams we might beat. But if we want to make something this season, we're going to have to compete against Cardiff and Coventry and QPR, aren't we? And I think that's Coventry are back in the Rico, aren't they, next year as well?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That'll be.
Tim, does anything strike any fear into you, that set fixtures?
No, it's quite weird, this 5 games in February, isn't it? Because obviously the shortest month and everything. But no, I mean, I think I think that comment before about, you know, you could see teams 7th or 17th or whatever probably resonates there, because, you know, I must admit, I've looked at fixture list and I've not been scared by anybody really, but you just don't know what these teams are going to be like, do you? You really do not know what these teams are going to be like. You know, they can blow hot and cold. You know, the usual suspects who you'd expect to be up there. Your West Broms seem to be having a few problems and whatever. I'm expecting. I think Bournemouth. I think are going to be difficult. I think that because they've just got the money behind them, haven't they, to make sure that they compete right at the top. And I think I also think Swansea are going to be up there next year, and I think I'd like to think we might do quite well. I think personally, I'm going to be happy if we hold our own like we did. Probably a little bit better than we did the first season back in 2007, 2008. But it's really interesting looking at the fixtures, because I don't think we're going to lose that. We're going to lose that. We're going to lose that.
No, I keep reading people saying, "Oh, can they take the step up? Can they take the step up?" And I agree with you. I don't look at that division in terror. And I think Sean made a really important point before. The Championship is the final financial basket case division, and we've seen in the last few years, Brentford being the prime example, but a number of teams who've actually been sort of solid and with a bit of security behind them in a plan do really, really well, because there are some teams that are just in a ridiculous state, just hemorrhaging money. And we've just gone through the 18 months we've gone through. They're going to be pulling in. And I agree with Phil. If we're going to have a chance,
don't you think momentum is important as well? You know, we've got a winning mentality born out of spending 2/3 of the season getting 2 points out of 3, and players get used to winning games, and when they're used to winning games, that often can be the difference between success and failure. I think we've got, you know, the squad's got fantastic. I know they've got a lot of new additions, as we're going to go on to discuss, but you know, the squad seems to have a fantastic group approach, mentality, whatever you want to call it. They all seem to be quite buying into what's going on. But it always helps when you're winning, doesn't it? Because when you're winning, even those who aren't in the team can be happy. When you're losing, it can be a different matter. But I can just there's a good vibe, isn't there? And players want to be here. I mean, how many years can we honestly look back and say that we signed players who really wanted to be here? Probably Holloway booked the trend for a season, maybe 2, and he was able to drag players in because they could see that there was a buzz about the place. But other than that, in the last 25, 30 years, we've had to drag players in effectively, haven't we? Keep them away from the training ground and do this and do that to try and coax them over the line. You know, say you can have a free contract when you leave, and you can go for £1 or £100 or £1,000 or whatever stupid deals that were done in the past just to try and get players to sign on the dotted line. And I'm looking at players like Garbutt and others who signed on, and they're signing on because they know that something's happening. And I think we're going to shock a few of these teams next season.
I think as Craig Neal's just put in the comments there. Sorry, Sean, to come in a minute. Our system should suit this division better, I think, Sean. So just make your point and also address what Craig's saying there, because I think it's a valid one.
Yeah, the point kind of links to that, really. I think the blueprint is Barnsley when you're looking at how to approach this division. Team of a similar stature. They've got a long-term plan there, a long-term vision. They had a set, defined style of play, and they brought in players that were doing well in divisions below, brought them in, or brought in younger players from Premier League academies that have come back down, made good use of the loan market
approach as well.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's Barnsley and Brentford and us are the three sort of, and Luton as well now, because they brought in the analytics people from, well, basically like the most popular analytics accounts on Twitter have basically all gone into Luton now to work there. So it's 4 teams there that have really got the right idea of how to approach the division. And then you've got the other half that are hemorrhaging money. And then you've kind of got in the middle ground these teams that are sort of just there or thereabouts. So it's a good mix. And I think Barnsley have obviously just lost their manager to West Brom, but they have lost 3 managers now and just very quickly replaced them with someone with the exact same mentality that can fit straight in to the head coach role. And I think that's what the way we'll be heading longer term, thinking 10, 20 years down the line, that the head coach is an interchangeable position. You bring in that person who fits your ideals, but the structure of the club is so big in terms of the director of football and the recruitment staff and the analysis and things like that, that the head coach can move on every 2 to 3 years and it doesn't just rip up everything that you've built. And that's the way we're going, and that's the way Barnsley have done it, and it's probably going to see them have another good season.
Okay, moving on to March, we've got, let's get the graphic up again, I should have done this before. So we've got Stoke City away, Swansea at home, Sheffield United at home, and the return leg for the West Lancs derby, Saturday the 19th of March, sees us go to Deepdale. Gents, is anyone going to be missing this for ridiculous holidays?
Fucking no. All leave cancelled.
You see all these stories, don't you, on ABFTT about, oh, for fuck's sake, someone's got this bottle. One that made me laugh. Someone put, the missus thinks she's going to see a show in London on that date. Oh, no, she isn't. But, Matt, let's come to you. So we've got Stoke away. It's strange how they've been struggling with all the ill-gotten gains of Denise Coates and Bets 365. So I'd expect them to have a better season. Swansea at home, they're decent. Sheffield United, that's going to be a toughie. And obviously, we've got the easy game at Deepdale on the 19th.
Yeah,
so it's a tough month apart from the last one.
Yeah, I mean, Stoke away is never a nice place to go to. At least it's not on a cold Tuesday night.
It'll be fucking freezing in the 5th of March, though.
It will be. I was going to say, you can guarantee that we'll be cracking the flags in February and the 6th of March, and then anything on the 5th of March will be shoveling the snow off our driveway.
So is that long walk up to the stadium as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not pleasant. You just want to drive past and go to Burton, don't you? But yeah, it's a tough calendar, isn't it? You know, I mean, Stoke away, never easy. Like you say, if Mrs. Coates can give some of her dividends to the club, I'm sure they'll be financially sound again this year. And the 2 other teams will, I think, probably still be pushing for playoffs at least, I would have thought, and then hopefully, we'll just put another nail in the Preston coffin. Hopefully, at that particular point.
They'll be down by then, anyway.
I was going to say with Sheffield United, they've got Slavica Jokanovic in now as manager, and he's obviously the past 2 or 3 times he's been in the Championship, he's done a really, really good job. So I think he'll be good with that rebuild. They've got a lot of just dog shit players that just don't suit really playing Championship football. But I think they'll be right up there. He always seems to get teams right up there, Jokanovic.
They've got Basham as well, haven't they? And what's his name? That garbage player.
I think he's just gone. John Lundstrom. I think it's been released, hasn't it? I think.
Is Fleck there? We had Fleck, didn't we, for a bit?
Yeah.
Is he flecked off? Is he still there?
I think he's still there.
April. Notts Forest at home. Rovers away. West Brom away. Birmingham at home. Luton away. Derby County at home. Blackburn and West Brom, 2 great away days. Luton Town, are they getting a new stadium? Anyone know?
I remember when I went, actually, it was one of the few away games. We actually went in the director's box at Luton a couple of years ago, and they had all the plans up on the boardroom for this new stadium, which was actually going to be funded by some land sale they were doing. So I was actually wondering where they were up to with it. I've not seen any anything to suggest they've started building yet. But I'll have to check that out afterwards. But I know Josh said it's the worst away trip, but I actually quite like the ground because it's sort of, in a rather funny way, reminds me a little bit of where the way Bloomfield Road used to be.
Also reminds you, if you go to Luton Away, how absolutely fabulous your own hometown and surroundings is.
Yeah, you go through somebody's back garden to get into the away end, don't you? Basically?
Right.
Yeah.
So
Brilliant.
you see if they've been using Daz or Purcell.
and all the seats are still screwed to the terracing. So they're like it's a real old school ground.
I think the word you're using, the Timism you're searching for them is Tim is shithole.
It was. I prefer to. It's quaint. It's quaint.
West Brom's a Good Friday as well, isn't it? Easter weekend.
Yeah,
of course.
West Brom, so that'll be a big game, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah, and Rovers away Saturday the 9th. Are we bothered about Blackburn at all?
I like going to Blackburn because it's been we've played them a lot more than we have Preston when I've sort of been around the age. So I think because we had that game, if you remember, where DJ Campbell was scrapping on the goal line at home as well, and we've had a few moments against them where it's kind of got a bit feisty and stuff away from home as well a couple of times. So it always seems to be a good day out. So I like Blackburn quite a lot.
Yeah. Dan BFC's just said they need to reappoint Billy Davis for the Forest game. That's the Forest at home, I think, Dan. But yeah, Forest away, gents. It'll be good to revisit the county.
We've got a Robin who's joined us as well, haven't we? I've just noticed that. I'll be good. Hopefully, as we're in the championship, we should hopefully get some traction with some away fans and away podcasters joining us, which would be quite good, I think, as well. So,
that Forest away last time we were there, I was going to say last time I went, we had Cabero went sat in the stands and stuff because we didn't register enough players in time, did we? So we ended up with about 3 subs on the day of the game. We're going down on the train and we're here and we've got 8 players registered. Now we've got 10. I've got 12. If you're going down, you're getting more players. But
if you'd have worn that shirt, Sean, you'd have got a game, probably.
I know.
So we had that idiot, didn't we? We talked about in the last
Chris Howe, the one
Chris
that
Howe,
put on his
LinkedIn, money like that with his glass
with a
up to
bottle
his
top on the piss in Ibiza. Yeah.
That's right.
How times have changed, gentlemen. How times have changed. Just slightly more professionally run these days, aren't we?
You'd like to think.
Slightly.
Unlike this podcast.
How dare you?
Just going back an hour and 10 minutes, John, that's all.
Oh, right, okay.
Especially
so
if
we were going to talk about
a minute pre-warning as well. A minute pre-warning about muting. He was about to bollock us all.
And don't forget to unmute yourselves. I think was
literally the final word.
He said, "Don't forget to mute and unmute yourselves." It's the last bit.
Right, end broadcast button. Where is it? Where it is. So, viewers, listeners, etc. We're going to be doing all the news. We're going to be going through all the new signings, ins and outs. But we're gonna because we're on over now. We're going to cancel that for this show. I'm going to do it tomorrow because we're having such great fun doing this. May. So let's just look at May before we go. So we've got Peterborough away. The only scheduled game in the calendar is Peterborough away, final game of the season, Saturday, the 7th of May. And Tim Jr., Sam, has cheekily put the playoff dates in this calendar, hasn't he, Sam?
It's him that's done it, is it? Not
yeah, this is Sam's handiwork. Yeah, so he's put the playoff dates in there. So, gentlemen, Sunday, the 29th of May is the Championship playoff final. So don't let your other halves or anything put holidays, etc., or trips to the theatre in there.
I'll have to. I reckon I'm going to have to correct him. Is it not normally on a Saturday, the Championship game? Because we were on the Sunday this year, weren't we?
It's normally the Monday Championship,
and then Monday's League Two.
They changed it, didn't they, and put Monday on the League Two on a Monday in the end, didn't they?
Yeah.
So
I'll worry about it when we get there. Let's be honest.
Yeah. I listen. Peterborough Away is quite a good last game as well because
half kick-off though.
Yeah, but if you can get yourself down there and have a few bevies, it's because you got. Have they still got the terrace behind the goal? Was that gone?
No, they got rid of it.
Oh no, sorry.
Got a new stand now. Yeah, seated.
Pity.
It was, we've got good memories of Peterborough Away, haven't we? Last time we were there.
The Charteris on the river.
I was in a weird daytime nightclub before that Peterborough game. It was odd.
Did you not go to the Charteris? It's like a big bar.
No, I found out about that afterwards. I was in a daytime nightclub with no windows. It's a bit like being in your crypt.
Despite yourself, despite everyone else has gone to the pub, you thought you were in the pub. You thought you were in the pub, and then you realised you're in this daytime nightclub. So what's going on here?
Right, gentlemen, I think we'll call it a day. We've done an hour and 10 on the first two segments, but like I say, listeners, viewers, we've got plenty to go through. We've got another hour's worth of content, so I think we're going to be coming live again tomorrow at 8 p.m. So hopefully you'll be seeing the rest of this motley crew joining us to review all our signings in and out, and also
what's the game at 8 o'clock tomorrow night? Are we?
There isn't one. It's on Saturday. Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Isn't one?
I thought it was. I thought it was starting again tomorrorow.
We're doing a farewell tour from our Euro campaign on Friday night. That's what we're doing. We're playing.
Who's we? Who's we? Sean? What do you mean we?
The mighty Jocks. The mighty Jocks.
Born in England, Sean. Born in England.
Yep. It's a Blackpool sweaty, isn't he? At the end of the day.
That could be his new name, the Blackpool Sweaty. Right, everyone, just before you go, if you're watching this on YouTube, please do leave us a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Helps us get up to that magic 1,000 barrier. If you haven't done it, just please hit sub now. Thanks for joining us, Tim.
Thank you. See you tomorrow night.
Yeah, you're welcome. No problem,
Thanks,
mate.
Mitch. Thanks.
Cheers.
Thanks, Sean. As we said, thanks, Velon. Thanks for listening. Up the pool.
Up the pool.